Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one-stop podcast for students, professionals, parents, and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career guidance, and career mentoring. Please welcome your host, Dr. S.B. Mishra, to the show, and happy listening.
Hello and welcome to India Career Center. With me is Mr. Ramkrishna Bodu. Today we want to talk about another important topic, which is basically to talk about the profile building. This concept in the recent years has caught up a lot of imagination. Now, just to give a background of why it has become so important in the last few years, what has happened in terms of the inflation of marks. If you look at the CBSE exam as a reference point, in the last 10 years, between 2010 and 2020, there's the inflation of marks, which is students scoring more than 90% has substantially increased. And there's also substantial increase in students scoring more than 95% marks. So in one hand, we have discussed about the demographic dividend, which is equally an important factor, which we must keep in mind. On the other side, there's an increase in the percentage of marks which is coming through in these qualifying certificate programs like the 10th grade or the 12th grade. And these are the exams which will decide the future of any child's career, the next steps. I invite Mr. Ramkrishna Bodu to this discussion. Mr. Bodu, let's divide our discussion into two halves. Let's look at from the context of what is happening in the domestic market. If students are wanting to take up their higher education in India, how important is the exercise of this profile building?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mishra ji, for picking up again another important, and the topic is very important for students, especially the young students. When I say the young students who are at the 12th grade, this topic is very important. Of course, it is also important for people, who are completing their undergraduation and all further higher education. And yes, we will surely, have this conversation, how to deal with this within India, and what are the expectations outside India, this profile building as a topic. And I would like to take advantage of where you started off, and I'll try to build upon, some of it with some statistics, around that, though you touched upon it. So let us look at, even before we go there, most of us as parents, elders, and our students, our children, we are all very concerned about the academic preparation, academic excellence, plus the entrance exam preparation and getting good, getting good scores or grades or ranks in the academics and the entrance examination. Of course, no doubt about it. One need to excel in academics, and they need to get good scores and ranks or grades in the entrance exam preparation. These are the two essential things for anybody to advance their education into good institutions like IITs or NITs or IIMs or whatsoever it is. No doubt about it, because that is how the system has been laid down, right? Only the merit, only the cream will get to there. So that's how it is, at least meritorious students. But what is hidden here? What is hidden here is beyond your academic excellence, beyond your entrance examination, scores, there is something called profile, the CV they call. These are like a synonymical words. Profile preparation or CV building is also essential, and it is true for abroad education and to certain courses in India also. And we're going to talk about that, in little detail in the next few minutes. So it is no longer your academic excellence. That means 10th grade marks or 12th grade marks, or your entrance exam preparation. It is these two plus what kind of a profile do you have, or what kind of a CV does the student possess. That makes a difference. Now, why the CV or profile has become crucial here? Let's look at some statistics. Like Mishra ji mentioned, these are the statistics which are available on CBSE, NCERT, those government websites. It is not that we are making it for you to convince you that this is important. So if we look at in the last, more precisely 2010 to 2018, why I did not pick up those 1920, because we had this COVID, this all and that. Let's park them aside. Let's look at 2010 to 2018, roughly about 10 years of time. If you look at this period in CBSE board, the number of students appeared in 2010 was approximately, for the higher education, I'm talking about who completed a 10th grade per se, the 12th grade. There were about some 7 lakh students in 2010. That has grown up to 12 lakhs in 2018. That means it is more than 70% increase. That means the number of students who are completing their 10th grade and 12th grade has exponentially increased up to 70% or more than 70%. That means the competition is intensifying year on year. But if you look at the other side, the number of seats in IITs, for example, even for engineering, the number of seats in IIMs, the number of seats in the premium institutions, the top 10, top 20 institutions, even in India, has they been increased at that level? Definitely not. There is a slight increase, year on year or every 2 years or so, there is some increase. So we got to keep in mind the demand versus the supply is not that. I'm not saying that, for the student who passed out 12th grade, will not get a seat in college. They'll get it, but not in the top notch or the premium institutions. There comes the competition. Now, this is one aspect. Now, the other aspect, one is the number of students who are appearing or clearing those 10th and 12th grade marks have been increasing year on year. And number two, they're not just clearing, they are clearing these boards with highly merit. What is this highly merit? 90+% and 95+%. Now, if you look at the same statistics of 2010 CBSE, 90+% marks, these were about close to 17,000 students who have scored those many 90+% marks. Whereas in 2018, there were over 70,000 students who have scored 90+% marks. If you do a math quickly, it is close to or more than 350% increase of number of students who are clearing their boards with 90+% marks. First of all, the number of students are increasing and the number of students who are clearing those exams. 70% increase in the number of students who are appearing for the boards. Now, the number of students clearing the boards with 90+ marks is 350+% of increase. Now, this is happening year over year. So that is why in the last 10 years, let's look at within India, institutions have been struggling to select candidates because the number of seats have been limited. You look at any, undergraduation course. I'm talking about, for example, somebody wants to do, management course after 12th grade, say in IIM Indore. Someone wants to do a design, Bachelor of Design in National Institute of Design. Someone wants to get into IITs. IIT is a bit of an exception. They don't insist on the profile building for engineering, but definitely they'll have an edge. Okay. So there are various courses who are insisting. For example, law, as a career, if some student is looking at, journalism, mass communication, these are some of the courses in India also over the last 10 years. Plus, The new age universities like Ashoka, Flame, Srishti, Pearl, Kriya, Shivnada, Rajim Premji, they all don't just look for academic excellence and entrance examination. They look for a profile. Okay, so at least those new age universities, especially the liberal arts courses. See, it is no longer about engineering and medicine, my friends. Let's all accept that fact. Those are all good courses, no doubt about it. So let's also look at beyond. So if anybody wants to do design, law, mass communication, journalism, management related courses, they have to have a strong profile. Even architecture, they have to have a strong profile. That's for sure. Now, what is this profile all about? Now, generally, as parents or elders or students, when you call about profile or CV, it is only heard only when a job interview takes place. When you are applying for a job, you are expected to send your profile or curriculum vitae, CV, right? That is true, but that's not the only fact. In the recent years, students are expected to have a strong profile for them. So what is this profile? Profile will include their academic merit, academic record, track record, their entrance examination score, plus extracurriculars and co-curriculars. How did they implement the learnings in the classroom in their co-curriculars? What did the student do outside of school and outside of classroom? What kind of sports do they play? Do they play sports? Do they have entry into music, arts? What are those various activities? Are they good at communication? Are they good at public speaking? Right? So there are various aspects, when you have to talk about the extracurriculars. Now you may be wondering, now sports, my child have got, is a good badminton player. I was thinking to secure a seat with a sports quota. So that is slightly different. We are not just talking about, a quota which is, reserved for a sports, excellence or some other excellence. We are talking about in general. Okay. So the profile building means profile. What should it contain? Let me repeat. It will contain your academic track record, your entrance examination score, your co-curricular activities, your extracurricular activities. For example, a student who is in a science stream in 11th and 12th, maths, physics, chemistry, and the student is aspiring to become a space researcher. Let's assume you want to study space science. Now, what kind of academic profile does the student have? The CV should have, he or she should have. To begin with, what is the level of contribution the student has in the science fairs which are organized by their schools? That's starting point, but there is much beyond. Now, if we look at, there are science related events or science fairs are conducted by some of the prominent newspapers in the country. And IIT Mumbai also conducts events about science fairs, tech events they call it. Every year, every 2 years they conduct. So if students taking place in such events will actually build a certain skill within himself. For example, he will be operating on his own. He will be contributing with certain idea in that science fair, and he will be presenting it to the audience. He will receive, feedback. So look at this cycle that the child is going through. He or she is actually gaining a real life experience when you go to the audience, when you go to the market kind of it, right? So this is what they look at. See, in mugging up and in a rot method, you by heart your portion or score good marks. We already talked, there are 350+% of increase. There are many students who are doing this. Now look at somebody who want to get into law as a career. Now this is, for example, let's take an example of Nalsar University. Like I said, we are talking about the institutions in India and some of the courses in India. Nalsar University. Okay, this child has to be through with 12th grade good grades, say about 90+, CLAT good score, which will qualify to get a seat in Nalsar, which is one of the top, 3 or 5 institutions for law, besides those national law universities. Plus, the child has to have a good communication, critical thinking. I'll tell you why. There is a group discussion and a personal interview that happens. And the personal interview for these institutions, it will be with the head of the institution. Besides you being academically excellent, plus good score in CLAT, plus the child would have done an internship, a virtual internship or an internship to understand the nitty-gritties of law as a career. Okay. And then he go apply for, he opt for a college as a Nalsar University. Then you're going to go sit for an interview, personal discussion with the vice chancellor or, a delegate from that office who is a learned, experienced person. Now, an 18-year-old boy or a girl sitting in front of a 60-year-old adult who was a learned person. Now you want to impress that person. You should be sounding confident. Now you are only a bookish person. You're good at, your aptitude of clearing the entrance examination. If you are not comfortable in talking to a stranger altogether, my friends, believe it, he or she will be a stranger to you. You wouldn't have had any interaction with that person. Now imagine if you want to talk to your, school, head of your school or your college, how, intimidating would that be for many of us? Of course, some are natural, in talking, but it's not for everyone. So think of it. This is one criteria they look at, right? So for example, now another example, I'll take an institute of another example. IIM Indore. Many students aspire to get into the 5-year integrated course of management over there. IP-MAT is one of the, entrance examination they need to go through, right? So in that, the IIM Indore, they look at your IP-MAT score, your 12th grade marks, plus your diversified interests in your co-curriculars. Are you only limiting yourself into your classroom? Or do you play sports? Do you play any game? Do you have, how diversified have you been using your time? And the question is, when I want a seat in management on IP, MAT, or whatever that is, why do they need? Because they need people who are very bright, who are holistically developed. Okay. So they call it in other way, are you only a hard skilled person or a soft skilled person also? Because it is 21st century is all about soft skills. If you don't possess those soft skills, just by having the technical qualifications wouldn't suffice you survive in the job market, in the industry, in the business world, in the entrepreneurial world. It is not always the hard worker who's going to make a differentiate. It is a smart person who has actually smart enough to embrace these skills. So that's important. So IIM Indore is another example. Let's look at Delhi University. That's another, you look at Delhi University cutoff, round 1, round 2, round 3 cutoff, your mind will blow off. 96% 12th grade cutoff, 97%, 98.9, sometimes 99%, because they have to filter. It is actually shortlisting, rather calling it as a filtering. When you go apply for a job, they will shortlist candidates. They will look at 100 profiles for that position, for example, and they shortlist about 10 out of them. And after that, there is a second round of shortlisting. Only 6 of them will get shortlisted, and all 6 will be given an opportunity, or a 4 will be given an opportunity to place multiple rounds of interviews. And finally, one candidate will be selected. Similarly, the academic counseling, or when you're applying for these institutions like Delhi University, IIM Indore, Nalsar, or National Institute of Design, they look at your non-academic extracurricular and say this, irrespective of your course, irrespective of your institution requirements, I would encourage every child and every parent to make sure you are holistically developed. Don't limit yourself only to the classroom. So consider that. Of course, there are many examples. So look at it this way. So now we talked about the institutions in India, some of them, why it is required, the extracurriculars and co-curriculars. Okay. So anything you would like to add,
Yeah, I
Mishra ji,
think,
before we step into the
Mm.
international?
I would like you to give some examples of top universities where our
Yeah.
aspiring young students want to take up, let's say, undergraduate studies. What are the top
Yes.
institutes and what is the rate of the challenge and what is required with respect to profile building?
Yeah, absolutely, Mishra ji. I think we'll surely do it. But before that, I would like to just reiterate on one point. The traditional methods versus new methods for selecting students, for shortlisting students. The traditional methods, we all know that entrance examination plus the 12th grade scores, board exam marks. But those are the traditional methods. Now they are not sufficient because of the number of students increasing year over year, because they want all good, eligible, worth, deserving students to take it. Now the new age methods, the traditional methods plus, we talked about, there could be personal interview, there could be group discussion, written aptitude test, verbal ability assessment, whether how well can you speak, logical reasoning, legal aptitude when it comes to some of the law related, your co-curricular, on the spot essay, how well you can write an on the spot essay, write your what is your portfolio when it comes to case studies, what are your recommendation letters from your previous right from your 10th 11th 12th onwards, and what are some of those leadership roles that you have taken up in your school. It could be as a sports team captain or a sports participation or event organizer or whatnot, anything and everything that you get an opportunity. And believe me, this portfolio building or a profile building has to start as early as 8th grade onwards. The magic cannot happen in 11th and 12th grade. If it starts as early as 8th grade onwards, then you will have a significant amount of achievements that you could quote, that I am a deserving student. Let us say you have an aspiration of studying law. Now, if you participate in certain events or debates like Model United Nations, this question, we talked about the institutions in India, but way beyond, over the last one decade, the Indian institutions also have started, introducing these various layers of filterization. But abroad in US, UK, Canada, in many other places, besides your academic excellence plus the entrance examination, could be IELTS, SAT, TOEFL, GRE, whatever that is, or ACT. Beyond all of that, let's look at some of the institutions like Harvard University. Harvard, they purely look at your diversified interests in research, arts, and sports. Now look at research, arts, and sports. These are 3 dimensions altogether. How diversified are you? That means your willingness to adapt, your willingness to interfere into different domain altogether. That means it is a very important life skill, my friends. I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg, but there's a lot. You pick up a college, you pick up a university, there's a lot to talk about. How does the selection criteria takes place? I'm just giving you very high level understanding, on this in this episode. Now let's look at Yale University. Now they kind of look at the students' ability to utilize resources. I'll give an example here. That is one of the factors they consider. I mean, these factors have been, evolving over the time. So ability to utilize resources, if you want to look at it that way, in your 11th and 12th grade, in one of your assignment, your teacher has given you an assignment, whatever assignment that is. And the timeline given for you is 1 month. And the resources, I mean, the team formed was about 3 team members, and you are the leader of that team. And to complete an assignment is given you 1 month. Now, before even announcing that assignment to you on your name with a group of 3 members, you very well know that 1 month is a very short time and 3 resources are not sufficient. But your teacher says, no, I can't get you another team member and I can't extend your 1 month deadline. How will you deal with it? It was left to you, the task is given to you, now you hook or crook, you get it done. But the best approach, what you could do, you all 3 team members can sit together and calculate the number of hours you need to complete this in that 1 month time. Now, what if you spend extra time on your Saturday and Sunday and accomplish this? Would you not consider to be going that extra mile, individual? I know in all the time it is not required, but it is the people who take that extra mile, who lead it. Don't complain about what you got. Appreciate what you have and then move on. Find out how can you be effectively use it. So now you all 3 of you as a team members come to an understanding that we spend 2 more hours on every Saturday and Sunday. So that gives you ample number of hours in 4 weeks time, in 1 month time. That is more than sufficient for you to consider. It is almost like worth of another resource. I'm just giving a very high level example. So that is what is required. Now in that process, what are you learning? You're learning negotiation. You're learning minimum resources, maximum productivity. You are already a revenue generator. You are already a business leader by doing that assignment. Now in your interview, not just for your undergraduate course, even for your job interview, when you want to set up a business, you give this example, your credibility, your credential, the other person who is listening to you will appreciate. You understanding this is a life skill, my friends. Don't limit these extracurriculars, co-curriculars only from the point of view of higher education. Look at it from a holistic development that you're going to become a holistically developed individual. When you hit the road, when the rubber meets the road, it has to go through the test. Okay, so that's about Yale University, the ability to utilize resources. Now let's look at another, London School of Economics. Okay, they look at your non-academic interests specifically. They don't just get you in it. Okay, now let's look at University of Toronto. Extracurricular activities. Your personal experience, not just being a part of some extracurriculars. Your personal experience, what you gained, has to be significant. Right? So those are some of the institutions. This is Ivy League. I picked up a couple of them from US, one from UK, one from Canada. Similarly, all those premium institutions, so-called, have got a significant requirement. Now the question comes. This all sounds good. Now, what are some of those? Can you name some of those specific activities that somebody could really look at? I'll give some examples like your summer programs, online virtual internship programs, online certifications, or an internship offline. Your competitions, what kind of competitions are you participating? What is the volunteer work, right? Did you appear for, social service? What kind of social service have you been doing? What kind of projects? So I'll give an example. When it comes to project, you are a science student and you are aspiring to become a robotics engineer. Let's take that as an example. You want to do your undergraduate program in US, UK, Canada in one of those top-notch institutions, right? So now, what is that you should literally have in your profile? You should have a prototype that you developed. In ideal scenario, with the knowledge what you have gained, you should have developed a prototype, at least conceived an idea. Okay, you built a prototype, a model. Okay, now here is an interesting example I'll give you. Extracurricular activities, music. Now everybody might think that music, when you want to make a career in music, or when you want to do something with your music, even as a part-time, only then it is relevant. It is true, but there is beyond to that. Now music, if you look at from a psychology standpoint, you learn music, it actually improves your concentration. Music actually improves your concentration more than anything, because you have to put off your mind and you have to sing that whatever you are singing, right? If it is vocal, it develops a lot of concentration. Now that means if you learn music for so many years, that means you have developed a lot of concentration power, which is a very critical component that is missing in most of the youngsters these days because of too much of chatter around them. It could be social media, it could be gadgets, it could be whatnot, everything, right? Now another important activity, right, it is social work. Now social work or volunteer work, this is one common thing most institutions will look for. That means how committed are you as a human being to your fellow human being, to your society. After all, we are here to be committed to our fellow human beings and our society, beyond our earnings, beyond our titles, beyond our education and all that. For example, in my 10th grade, I'm talking about a student as an example. In my 10th grade, I went and taught in an underprivileged school, the 6th grade students, mathematics as a subject, or English as a subject, or physics as a subject, whatever it is. I taught them for about 6 months. Because of me teaching their mathematics, their grades have improved significantly. That is what is a volunteer work I did on every Saturday, Sunday, 2 hours a day. And I did that for 6 months of time, and I've got that, grades improvised. So I'll summarize. Your profile should have your academic credentials, your academic excellence. How much did you score in your 10th? It's literally 5-year track record, starting from your 8th grade onwards, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All 5 years, what is your academic track record? Of course, there are only 2 times when it comes to CBSE, it is 10th grade and 12th grade, the board exams takes place. Plus the entrance examination right in your 12th grade or after your 12th grade, right? What are the summer programs that you have done? What are the internships that you have undertaken? What are the co-curriculars that you have undertaken? What are the extracurriculars that you did? Like I quoted some of the examples. So now the question is, I gave you the general perspective of what are those key categories, what are those activities, and why this profile is important and all that. But it can't be generic. You have to get to specific. Now, I am going to target Harvard University as my first preference for my undergraduate course in science. Now, you need to specify right at the beginning, if not late, right at the beginning of your 11th grade, you need to have that clarity. How should my profile look like if I have to secure a seat at Harvard? That specificity you have to draft down as your requirement. I want to pursue law in Nalsar. What does Nalsar require? Of course, it is sure you need to be academically excellent, and it's sure you have to score good in your entrance exam. But beyond that, I want to join IM Indore for my 5-year integrated course. Of course, you need to be excellent in IPMAT and have good marks in your 12th. But what else? That specificity will be decided typically when you sit with your counselor or with your mentor or whoever that guidance was going to give you. Then this conversation has to happen. This conversation specifically can take place only when you know what are your targets. But if you're generic, it will be generic, because not every institution follow the same criteria to shortlist the students. They have different criteria. But I spoke about the general criteria with some relevant examples of some institutions. So most importantly, the specificity of the institution is very important to you. Now, as I said, I repeat myself, I go one step beyond. Especially, I appeal to parents and students who are watching and listening to this, conversation. Don't think your extracurriculars and co-curriculars are limited to only to secure a seat in a prominent institution. It is actually helping you develop as a holistic individual, my friends. These are going to help you differentiate you in your real life as you get to your jobs or businesses or your entrepreneurial journeys. It's very important. So please do keep in mind, and don't limit yourself only to look at your academic requirements to qualify to a college. Look at it beyond. Okay, so that is how it is important. And I leave you with by calling out some of those crucial skills that you need to develop in that process, not just participating. And these are called as some of the critical skills, like problem solving, critical thinking. Do they teach you in your classroom? Do problem solving is not how effectively you solve your algebra or trigonometry, mathematical problem. It is about real life problem. You have a conflict in your team. How do you manage the conflict? There is a disagreement in team. How do you get the team to terms? How to manage people. How will you coordinate between your team members? How will you make decision and judgment? How will you negotiate? How emotionally intelligent are you? Cognitive thinking, service orientation. There are a lot of skills. These soft skills or 21st century skills is what they call. Those skills have to be developed through your extracurriculars and co-curriculars. That will make a differentiator for you in real life beyond your earning you good college seats. So I will leave you with that, thought, my friends, and turn it over to Mishra ji, and then see if you would like to.
Yeah, I think
add.
As always, very, very elaborate responses from you with a lot of explanation, a lot of example. Just to add here, parents and young people who are watching us or listening to our podcast, especially if your children are at the grade 8, what is going to help you is that, of course, I think most of the children might have just completed the 7th grade and must be going into the 8th grade or the 9th grade or 10th grade and so on and so forth. And most of you are probably into your summer break. So during this break, I think it would be actually good to explore some of these ideas which Mr. Ramkrishna Bodu talked about. What will also happen is that if the child is in the level of 8th or 7th or 8th grade, and you start looking at different types of internship programs or co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities, it will help also the child to explore different professional routes, which can also help in the making the right kind of decision over a period of time. So picking up something, if it is aligned to your final destination, it is very good. But I don't know how many of the children and the parents might be very sure at the 8th grade whether the child is going to go to the IIM Indore or the Harvard University. I don't know how many of you would have that clarity. If you don't have that clarity, at least start engaging with your child and let them explore some activity during this summer vacation, which can help them to explore about various career options. And eventually, align yourself, of course, take help of a mentor, which Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned, because a mentor can really guide the child in terms of the right direction for the future course, which is the most suitable, most best fit for the child. And hence, what are the various steps which can be taken as extracurricular or co-curricular activities. There are quite a bit of information which is available. Some of it I will try to share with you on this show note, and make a start. I think that is what I would like to say to the parents and the young children who are early in their career. And people who are already, let's say, in the 11th standard or 12th standard, I'm sure they have to be very, very careful about their next career switch or next career steps. with respect to what course they would like to take up in their graduation, and they have to be very, very clear in their steps as to what are the requirements of the institutions where they are trying to go, and everything information will be available on the websites of those particular institutions. Check out those requirements, and based on that, you must start, if you have not started the journey in the direction of taking the extracurricular and co-curricular. There are other things like the academic honors programs, the super curricular programs, and so on and so forth. So many information is available on the net, or you can always reach out to people like us who can actually help you out in the decision making process for the career, and also the steps required in terms of building up your profile. Would you like to add anything else, Mr. Ramakrishna here?
Yeah, I think you summed it well, but I'll leave you for undecided, for no clarity on what destination it is. Please, parents, my appeal is please involve them in sports. These are common things, right? So they will learn a lot of skills by being part of those sports. Point number one. Encourage them depending on their interests. You know better than anybody. The parent would know about the child better than anybody. Encourage them into music, arts, kind of activities, whatever opportunity you find in and around you. First of all, the willingness to let the child explore other avenues other than the classroom or the academics. That is more important. That's a strong beginning, I would say. Now, eventually, over a period of time, as you get close, you will get to see, which one is relevant, which is more specificity, right? So as early as, you don't have to wait until 8th grade, right? From the early age, parallelly, equally, let the child devote time to other activities, co-curriculars, extracurricular activities. Let us not limit our children only between school and home. Let's build a lot of other, aspects around them so that they grow holistically. This is more than getting an admission. This is more of letting our children grow holistically. It is for their good sake. I'll give you an example. When I was a young boy, 6-7-year-old boy, my mom used to give me 5 rupee note. I'm sure more youngsters would not even know how does a 5 rupee note looks like, right? She used to give me a 5 rupee note and a small, basket. And I need to walk almost like 2.5 kilometers from my home to the nearby market, sabji market, the vegetable market, which is only weekly once. Okay. So it was like a small town. It is not a very remote village. It's a small town. There used to be traffic on the roads, heavy vehicles, not so much of busy, but still. So I need to walk to that market, and there's a list given on a chit to me, bendi this much, chili this much, tomato this much, and all that. So I need to walk around that market, first see the quality of those vegetables across, walk around, which vendor has got a very bright, shining, good quality looking, vegetables. So quality control, quality analysis, that's a skill I learned in that vegetable market. No school will teach you this, my friends. And I'm sure some of you would do it. Point number one. Now, point number two, without compromising on the quality, find out which vendor is willing to give you for the best price. Negotiation. Right? Now, two. So 2 key skills I learned. And make sure that all that list is fulfilled with that 5 rupees. That is the weekly sabji for a 4-member family.
Resource management.
Right? Now I can't go back and say the money is not. No. You have to make sure it is, sometimes there is a little bit of adjustment here, there. And practically it is not possible all the time. Now, the other thing is I am on my own, up 2.5 kilometers, down just by, walking. So I'm independent, right? So I need to take my call, how to, make sure that I cross this path. So,
Yeah.
so many skills. But today in the contemporary world, let us look at our children. Today, it is all barcoded. They pick up from the, shelf in a supermarket. Forget about sabji, local market and all. Those is kind of almost like gone. Though in many places it happens. Now you get there, you pick it up, it is barcoded, no currency. They don't know the numerical ability also. Believe me here, you don't know how to count the change and all. It is all online payment. Of course, the card, I don't think most of the parents would allow the children to do it. So they don't know the transaction. They think that it's all happening automatically. So a lot of skill opportunity is being missing right from an early age onwards. So I think if we can still make an effort to send our children to local sabji markets or walk or bicycle in and around. I know it's not easy in metro or busy areas, but still, if we could make an effort, that will teach them very important skills. Otherwise, they'll be like in a you put them in a glass box. You got to preserve them, and suddenly after 20 years or 18 years, they're going to get to the hard, ruthless, real world, and it's going to be tough for them. So that's why holistic growth is important. It is beyond education, it is for the betterment of their lives. So with that, I think I would turn it over for closing. Mishra ji, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I think you really gave a very good example in the end. So it is not about just building the profile for the sake of getting an admission into a college or university. It also is meant for developing the child holistically. That is also very, very important, because we have delved about the importance of intensive competition which the current generation of young children are going to face, or they are already facing actually. So it is not about just the competition in the education field. The competition beyond that in their work life is also going to be intense, because India is going to be young for a fairly long time. I think till about 2050, 2060, the average age of Indians are going to be fairly young, which means that most of the Indians will be either in the school or in the learning or in the work life. And we need to create an India which is more capable, rounded, and are ready for intense competition, not just for India, but also for the across the world. I think we have that responsibility to make our children ready for the world. So with those words, I would like to say thank you once again to Mr. Ramkrishna Bodu and to all our listeners and viewers today for investing time with us. We really hope this episode is going to bring a lot more knowledge about this particular topic about profile building, and help you in your children's career building. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes. So, see you soon with a new topic and help you in your career journey.